Every night for months and months I was suffering really bad nightmares. I cried every night over it. I was really scared, didn't want to get in a car again. I've suffered really bad flashbacks from it, seeing road safety adverts on telly, or just people, if I'm in a car on the motorway, it makes me remember. I can remember the exact song that was playing in the car as we crashed, which was All American Rejects, Dirty Little Secret. My boyfriend at the time, Stuart, picked me up in his car, and then we picked up a few different friends who didn't stay the entire night, but in the end up picked up Marianne, and we went for McDonald's and just went about because it was the first hot day of the year. We were blasting music, just having a cigarette and sitting there for a while and playing a game of Twister, which we found in the boot of his car. We were side by side as he sped away and got up to over 80.
Slow down a little bit. Sammie, can you get him to slow down? Stop! Stop it!
They'd all told him to stop the speeding that he'd been doing all throughout the night, but he got as fast as he had the whole night, turning corners really swiftly until he pulled his handbrake to make the car skid. It sent the car skiding down the road until it almost went over the edge of the hills. I'd unclipped my seatbelt by accident, smashed into all the windows in the front of the car, and then it was on its roof and it slid right up the road till it hit into a tree, which sent the car rolling back twice until it hit a dead tree. I'd helped Marianne out first and told me to go and flag down the other car instead. Once I'd flagged down their car, I passed out on the way to get them. And then, next thing I remember, the police had came. Next thing I remember was being inside an ambulance, and I don't remember getting out the ambulance, it was waking up inside the hospital.
It's interesting with road traffic accidents, so people assume that the accident is the terrifying bit, and in many cases it is, but sometimes the trauma doesn't happen in the accident, it's what happens afterwards, when, for instance, people are in the ambulance, going to the hospital, going in and out of consciousness, believing they're dying. Not knowing the extent of their injuries, and as they're sort of fading out, believing this is the last time they're going to be connected. So you can imagine the journey to hospital can be pretty terrifying in itself.
First, I need to go home. Listen, let's check it out. Let me check it out, and then we'll send you home, okay? Let me just make sure you...
It's okay, you'll be okay. You'll be fine. It's okay. You'll be fine. We'll take you home straight afterwards.
Let me just make sure you're fine. I know you need to go home. Listen, let me just check your eyes first, okay? As soon as we've done this, listen, as soon as we've done this, you can go home.
I'm fine. It's okay. I'm fine.
Alright. Just need to run some more tests, alright? We'll go and get some more stuff to take some more tests, alright? You'll be fine. Are you alright to stay with us?
Yeah, that's fine. It's fine. Just sit down, okay? I need to look after you. You'll be okay.
Okay, we're just going to have to stick a drip in to get some flow back into you, okay?
And the whole experience, it's radically changed her view of her world from someone who's safe and robust, and it's not unusual for people in the late teens and early 20s to live forever. can cope with anything that comes their way, and then nothing bad is ever going to happen to them. They're safe, and suddenly that whole thing is flipped upside down, and they're suddenly then very frightened, very vulnerable, very fragile, and the whole cognitive shift or thinking shift is completely upside down. And that in itself can be pretty scary too. And it sounds that this young lady is wanting to just grab hold of anything that's familiar and secure and routine, just to anchor herself. And she's not going to find that in hospital, but to get home, get somewhere safe, maybe to surround herself with one or two close friends.
Hello, Sammie, is it? I'm Officer Linus. I'm just here to ask you a few questions about the accident. I know it's going to be hard for you, but I just want you to try to remember as much as you can, okay, for me? Thanks. So what can you remember from the incident?
The car started speeding. We told him to stop.
And then what happened?
He pulled the handbrake and it started to skid.
Can you remember anything else?
I remember the car spinning. We hit something hard and the car started to roll.
How about after the car had stopped? Can you remember anything from then?
I got out of the car and I waved down my friends, and I remember waking up in the ambulance for a bit, and then I was in hospital.
Right, thanks for your help, Sammie. If you can remember anything else, just get in touch and we'll try and take it further. But for now, just get some rest, okay? Thanks.
Most people try not to think about the accident or the traumatic elements of it, and even many people that do can tell most of the narrative but miss out the scary bits, or the narrative is never quite complete, for those reasons. And it's likely to be a strategy that she started and will continue forevermore. Don't think about it, don't go there. But this is the paradox, really, because in the short term she'll feel more safe and more comfortable by not thinking about the trauma. But in the long run, it actually keeps the problem going, as I can explain in a moment, as you like, because it prevents memory getting processed in the way that it needs to.
I had a minor head injury, whiplash, the seatbelt injury, dislocated shoulder, dislocated ankle, 2 fractured ribs, the rest were cracked. When I was lying in bed, I had some friends around me, and I noticed my shoulder. When I sat up, I felt the pain.
What are you doing? Sammie, just sit back down. What did you do that for? Sammie, what are you doing? Get back in the bed. Just stay. Help me.
I said I didn't want anybody touching me and everything else. I was just really freaking out, and the two of us just popped it back in.
Just wait for the nurse to sort it out. Help me.
I can't do that.
Come on, we have to. Sammie, just wait for the nurse. I have to go home. Help me, please.
I was really scared, and the head injuries had made me feel really delirious, so I signed myself out just to get away and try and come back to reality of what happened.
I deal quite a lot with RTAs and the trauma from that, and I think it's the first story I've heard actually of someone that has their friends sort of clicking them all back into place. We can take a few guesses at what might be happening there. It might be, for instance, that she didn't want people to know about the accident. There might be aspects that she didn't want other people to know about. And when you're in hospital, I imagine you get a lot of fairly intrusive questions asked, and you have to start giving account to others about you know, the whys and wheres and warfare and what fors, and it might be that she was desperately trying to get out of that situation, really, to avoid that. So that's one possibility. The other thing, but though I'd expect this to happen a little bit later down the line, is that the experience itself, the accident and what happened after the accident was pretty traumatic, and she's not really wanting to talk about that, but to shut it off. Wouldn't want to talk to people, doesn't want probing questions about what happens in the accident, because that reminds her of the pretty horrible experience.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. After gathering all the evidence and witness statement, we believe that due to reckless driving at fast speeds, causing it to hit the curb, roll over towards a tree on the opposite side of the road, all 3 passengers were seriously injured. Injuries were quite severe to Sammie, who was the main passenger at the front, while the 2 at the back, minor injuries to the knees.
No!
The crash could have been a lot more fatal, given the speeds and the way they hit the tree on the opposite side of the road. If he had been driving any faster, it could have caused death.
I think you're really lucky that you survived a crash like that. After looking at the photos, after seeing the evidence and the witness statements, you shouldn't have been allowed to drive a car like that. You're very, very fortunate that Sammie was the only one substantially hurt. You're very lucky the other 2 walked away with just scratches. This is going to scar the rest of them for the rest of their life. Due to your negligence, I'm going to fine you £300. Your licence has been revoked, and you will have to do your test again after a 3-year ban. You're very, very lucky you're not being sent away for this.
It's going to be quite scary. And this is the thing about trauma work, there's no easy way of avoiding that. You've got to get over that hump and then down the other side. As part of that, begin to see that this is an accident, an unfortunate one-off, that doesn't make driving or travelling in cars any more dangerous than it was before. Really, the world was very much the same now as it was before. Perceptions of it have shifted, and those are things that therapists can work with. It's an entirely treatable condition. Now, in my private practice, I do a lot of RTA work, and I sort most people out either using EMDR or trauma-focused work with some behavioural practice at home. They usually wrap it up in about 8 or 10 sessions. So she doesn't have to suffer with this for the rest of her life. That's the good news, isn't it?
At the time of the accident, I wasn't doing anything in my life. I wasn't in college, I didn't have intent to work. But since that, it's been a real reality slap, and now I've moved to Middlesbrough and I'm hunting for a job, and I just want to get back on my feet and start a new life.
She was a lot worse like a few months ago because she was just dead apprehensive about everything. Like, she wouldn't go anywhere in a car, like not even with my dad or anything that like people I trust. She was just, I don't know. It was just quite bad, and now she's a lot better because she'll go places and she's less like, she doesn't have nightmares anymore or anything.
The next 5 years I'm hoping to be in a good job with a good income, have my own place and maybe be driving, possibly.